Hi, this is Peter Gould. I'm co-creator and executive producer.
And I'm Alison Tatlock, writer and co-executive producer.
And you wrote this episode.
I did write this episode. Thank you.
And I'm Melissa Bernstein, and I'm a producer and also the director of this episode.
I'm Giancarlo Esposito, and I'm an actor who plays Gustavo Fring.
And I'm Rhea Seehorn, and I play Kim Wexler in this episode and all the other ones with me.
Has there ever been an episode without you, Ray?
One in season 1, and I can't think of what it was.
Nobody cares about that one.
Probably
If you're not in it, we're doing something wrong.
There he is. We are next to the courthouse here, which is a place we haven't spent too much time, and a place that it turns out is exceptionally loud.
Very, very, very loud.
Yeah. Phil Palmer was not a happy man.
No.
But he made
multi-Emmy nominated Phil Palmer.
Indeed.
Woohoo!
Thank God.
Yes, he's a godsend.
He is. We've done so many scenes where I'm like, well, clearly I'm doing that whole scene in ADR, and then somehow Phil gets it, and I'm not exactly sure how.
I think he's made some sort of deal with the devil, but we'll work on that.
Now, Melissa, am I right in thinking this is your first directed? You've produced many episodes of television. Am I right? This is the first time you've been in the director's chair?
You are correct, Peter. That is true. This was it.
I would have never known.
Yeah, it was obviously incredible to have the opportunity to work with this cast. And everybody was so patient and collaborative and, willing to, see me through this first experience, and the department heads and the entire crew. Honestly, I was on their shoulders, but very glad to be there.
You were fantastic.
We were so excited.
Truly fantastic, Melissa. You really just nailed this episode in such a beautiful way.
Yeah.
Here we are in a slightly new area of the courthouse. Mark Freeborn and Paula Dal Santo helped create this room, which was a total non-room, into this clerk's office. And then, by the way, change it over entirely for episode 509 in a couple of weeks.
Fun casting the background artists as all those wedding parties.
Oh, yeah. So we were trying to build a world.
Mm-hmm.
Great.
And this was a fun tidbit, Alison, in the script. This was a fun tidbit because people know that Saul Goodman in Breaking Bad talks about having been married. He talks about his 2 ex-wives, and so you bring it up here in this scene.
Yeah, it was kind of an honor to get to make that real.
This scene, I will say, this scene made me as nervous as any scene I can think of that we've done recently, just because I was so worried that it would seem sappy. I guess, for lack of a better word, it's a scene that's really on the knife edge between being a little bit emotional and a little bit not emotional and a little bit ironic, and it's got so many things swirling between these two who are getting married for legal reasons. But there's emotion there too, and this is it's interesting because to me this is the hardest thing in directing, which is to capture a tone, and you guys all captured this. It's a really special sequence because we've never seen these two like this, and it's delightful.
The juxtaposition is what really, really allows it to work, and the feelings that they have for each other that are being suppressed really allow it to soar. This is one of my favorite scenes ever. And their connection with each other in regard to this judge and what he says, it really connects them in such a very beautiful way. It's a great scene.
Yes. Thanks, Giancarlo.
Oh, I mean it.
Who plays this judge again? I loved him so much. He's a known character actor.
Is this Judge Jim Hoffmaster?
Jim Hoffmaster, yeah. He's incredible.
He was so great.
He was so great.
Yeah, this was the best.
Yeah, I did love the idea that these guys are so used to standing in front of a judge that they wouldn't even think to look at each other. They're just
Right?
like programmed to listen to the judge and like move on.
This is a moment that it's so gratifying after writing it to see it come to life and to see you guys surprise yourselves.
And who made the decision that I have no middle name?
I did. Because you know what? I have no middle name.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah?
Look at that.
Wow, terrific.
I don't think I heard that argument when we discussed it.
No, I didn't mention it. It just seemed right for Kim.
I think so.
I like it.
Well, who knows if she may have had a middle name at some point in her life, but she doesn't have one now.
True.
She's somebody who does not have a lot of encumbrances.
She's also someone that prefers the non-answer to the answer, so it made sense to me.
Always simple and elegant.
One thing that was driving me crazy this season, and it seems so small, is that we keep shooting in the same courtroom. And I kept requesting that we move to a different courtroom. And the solution that Mark Freeborn, our brilliant production designer, had was to build a new courtroom inside a courtroom. So this is our usual courtroom, but it's been reconfigured.
Oh, right.
There are new walls and so on and so forth. So just because it drives me crazy on TV shows when every scene in a courtroom takes place in the same courtroom. It just seems silly.
How great was Lavelle Crawford also in that whole scene?
I love Lavelle. Allison, I got asked recently if the second kiss and Lavelle asking for one more was improv, and I could not remember. Do you?
It was improv. That wasn't in the script.
Wow.
Okay.
Somebody's watching the show really closely.
I was going
Very
to give
closely.
Melissa credit.
Well, I mean, I think that was still a group effort of what felt natural.
Now, Melissa, I have a question for you. You're directing for the first time, and you are actually married to a cameraman. And I believe was Jordan operating on this episode?
He was. I don't think he was. He wasn't here this day. Because we end up putting a camera across the street really high up, so we did have an additional operator to get that shot, but that wasn't Jordan. Jordan was here this day.
Okay.
He was here when we were in the courtroom.
And Peter, you requested a different courtroom, and you got one, and what a lovely one it was. I visited this set this day.
Yeah.
And this is our courtroom from the pilot episode. And I think
is it?
Yeah.
Look
This
at that
is where-
ceiling stain.
Wow.
That's my favorite, is the ceiling stain.
How did you
So
guys
good.
put that ceiling stain there?
Well, it took a lot.
It was so hot in that place.
It sure was. Yeah. This was like the skullfuckery courtroom. If I'm allowed to say that. I don't know. But
You
And
are
in fact,
now.
that is a real stain because it's a disused courthouse. Is that correct?
yes.
Or an unused courthouse? One of the two.
Yeah, there's offices downstairs that are used, but this courtroom isn't used actively. And there's a lot of boxes in there usually. And they told us it would be it would be very hard for us to change that stain, but luckily we all fell in love with it anyway.
Rexland!
We were fond of that shot.
Yeah, it's a great shot.
That's Paul
Rex
Donahue.
and Dennis and Kara. I love those guys. And isn't that Rex's mom in real life in the photo behind him?
Yes, it is. He was
Wow.
so generous and shared so many photos with us. It was so fun getting glimpses at his life. And it's incredibly generous to let us put them on camera.
Yesterday was the worst day of my professional life.
And his dog.
I can't
Too.
tell
Right.
you how much.
And
Wow.
this was shot in a bank, actually, which is pretty
That's
crazy. A bank like no bank I've ever seen. It's like the most beautiful
Yeah.
building. And they had like chocolates and water. It was like, it's the bank of my dreams.
Amazing woodworking. I remember one of the guys on the crew, I wish I could remember who, was pointing out the detailed woodwork.
Yeah. And we were shooting during the night, which is why the windows are like that.
Kim, you dropped the ball, that's for sure.
We're trying to make a complicated schedule work. So those are all lit from outside. with paper lining the windows.
Yeah, we usually like to see out the window, but this is, this was a compromise to make the episode shootable.
Mm-hmm.
It looks stylish.
It
does. It looks serene and stylish and really upscale. It's gorgeous.
I love how Kim Wexler takes this terrible situation that she's in and turns it around and makes it into a triumph. And
I like when he insults Jimmy in this last moment. I don't normally like anything I do, but right here.
This fella, McGill, or
there's nothing worse than somebody who's right.
you could do a whole lot better.
Look at I literally was in my head. I was just like, "Fuck you."
That is an incredible mask of disdain right there.
Completely.
Well, just after she's doubled down and married this guy that he's taking down.
Yes, but also it's once again like people seem to really need to tell this poor damsel what she should and shouldn't do.
That's true, including sometimes our audience.
Look at this beautiful Matt Cradle. This is a Matt Cradle special right here.
That was
Matt
pretty
Cradle, our B camera operator. Brilliant Matt Cradle.
Yes.
Yeah, really.
There's your credit, Melissa. Congratulations.
Woo! And I just Dennis Boutsikaris in this scene, this whole sequence, I love so much. I mean,
he has no idea what I'm gonna say, but needs to look as though he's my colleague and my boss.
He's trying to make it work. He's like just barely keeping up. It's awesome.
Yep.
It's funny because there's so much subtext here, and everybody just makes it so alive. I used to be scared of scenes like this that were about banking or corporate relations, but these play just so beautifully. They're really, really fun.
You declined.
Well, Alison, you also did such a terrific job, and other episodes employ this tactic as well, where what the person is saying isn't untrue. It's she is stating facts. It's just that they're so severely manipulated to serve her purpose and not the whole picture.
Well said.
Yeah, I love the way you put that. A lot of these characters use real emotion for personal ends. It's interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It is fun writing for Kim in that way, though. I feel like we often are walking that line. Like, that's true. That's true. That's true.
Yeah, there's nothing technically wrong with what she's saying.
But it sounds like how an attorney crafts an argument, a persuasive argument.
Well,
wait, everybody watch Dennis. Watch Dennis. So she gets the job back. Dennis has no idea what should he act like he's in on this? Are we leaving?
I guess we'll get out of your head.
I want all this whole cast in every scene.
Now, this set we ended up in so many episodes. It was crazy.
Yeah,
not really good use.
Where are we here, Melissa? What set is this?
So this is our, Jimmy's gone to visit Lalo in prison. So we had a little interrogation room built that we'd shift things about it, for the various, because I think it plays in 4 or 5 episodes. I know Rhea, you and Tony played a scene in the next episode.
In 8, yeah.
But it's a pretty simple, it's like a tiny little set, but it was, wearing my producer hat, I felt like we really got a lot of use out of it.
and Marshall made it look different each time. The light feels different. It makes it feel like a different space each time we're in here. And of course, as you pointed out, we can move the window. Do we end up moving the windows from wall to wall? I think we did.
Yeah. And Paul Donachie shot it too. And he was the DP on Gordon's episode.
That's absolutely right.
But that's a long shot.
We love Lalo and Jimmy together. Something about the chemistry.
I love that lean in. So, you could just feel his intensity and his power. It was great.
just make money.
It's hard to ignore.
At the beginning of the season, we came up with a whole list of possible acronyms for JMM.
Oh, really? What were the other ones?
Well,
We used a bunch of them.
Yeah, I got in a couple. I couldn't get in all of them, and some
There
of
were
them
some
are
that were
not
borderline
appropriate.
offensive. There were
Yes.
some that were too offensive to repeat, to
That's
be
right.
honest with you.
That sounds like the vibe of a writer's room.
Yeah,
Yeah, this writer's room.
it made us laugh.
And here we are with little Kaylee and Grandpa Mike. And we have a little bear in the back that was a little bit of a shout out to Mike Behrman-Trout. Mark was particularly excited about feeling like Mike Behrman-Trout was in the scene with Mike, double mics.
Alison, how did you come upon The Little Prince? Because it's one of my favorite books, and I just loved that he's reading this story.
You know, it's one of my favorites too. And this is the exact version that I had. So I was so happy when the props found that version. And we also, it resonates with our writer's room in various ways that felt satisfying.
Because Jonathan Banks calls Tom.
Yes.
Tom.
Yes.
Yes.
That's what I wondered. Yeah,
Yes.
that's what I wondered.
So it seemed extra good to make that choice.
Great choice.
But it was very moving to Jonathan. Like, in jokes aside, he was moved by reading from that book. I think he had a connection to it as well.
And you did a beautiful job of picking the right passage. It resonates really nicely.
That was fun going through it and feeling like finding what felt the most Mike-ish to hear him read out loud.
I want more Carrie Condon.
Yeah,
I love Carrie.
she's terrific.
She's so talented.
Talented.
And such a pleasure to be around too. That her accent, her real life accent is so beautiful too.
Mm-hmm.
Is she Irish? She's from Ireland?
Yeah.
Ah.
And you can hear it, on like every once in a while you can hear it in a word and you just reminds you it's her, which I kind of love.
I've never had the opportunity to meet her, but I just love her work.
Oh, she's great.
Yeah, you would.
She's so funny too. So
yeah,
funny.
you would love her. This is just a nice moment between those two too.
Yeah, I love that.
I love the line, I decided to play the cards I was dealt. So good.
Oh, good.
And this scene, wow.
Yeah, this was a biggie. And Melissa and the actors, incredible.
So Ray, talk about how do you prepare for a scene? We're going to a place we've never been before on this show.
Right.
I think on either show, really, which is a kind of a romantic, intimate scene. How do you?
Romantic.
How do you? I'm going to put kind of before anything I say. How do you prepare for this?
Well, you make a decision that you're going to just not think about your thoughts about your own body so that you can just move on. And then after that, you start doing the real work, which was, it was easier than one might expect given that you guys are family to me now, and as is Bob. So I never for a second thought that I couldn't trust everybody and that I would be in unsafe hands. And then storyline wise, that is true as well. Like I knew this, I knew that I had to look at the scene as what's the story we're trying to tell, because on our show, thank God, there's never gratuitous sex scenes or nudity or anything like that. So if we're showing it, why are we showing it? And ultimately I came to Melissa and she was thinking the same thing, was that this is, and Alison, that this scene is about intimacy, but it's almost a misdirect that you think that it's about the sex. It's actually about him telling her the truth and her still staying with him and loving him. And that's truly the intimacy in the scene. So that's how I looked at it.
Yeah, that seems like her turn on is like when he's confiding in her. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it only gets better.
And I told Marshall and Steve Latecki that I'm never having sex again without this lighting kit.
I know. and that profile of Bob in this shot, I love that too. Like,
It's so beautiful. It's a
so
little
great.
distracting, actually.
I know. I think you look
Really great.
Brigitte Bardot. That's
Yes.
what I see. It's great.
I'll take that. All right.
Yeah, and Paul, was so helpful too, and with the operating to make sure, because in your movements to make sure that we didn't show anything that we couldn't show on AMC,
right?
And just keeping the moment intact. But it was fun. We shot it in pieces, which made that day went really fast, actually.
Yes. And you were great about telling us exactly what's going to be shot, and we got to discuss it with Paul. So it wasn't just a free for all as far as the physicality. We knew what we were going to do and how we were going to be framed, and then you can afford to let your guard down and play the scene.
Well, it's lovely because it plays back to the other courtroom scene that there is an excitement underneath this that they actually got married, and there's this great genuine affection. It's wonderful to me about that scene.
Yeah, it turned them on to get married, which is cool.
Yeah,
this is one of my favorite shots, Melissa, sliding that phone under that door, man.
Melissa, talk about the rig.
Yeah, we that was a special effects. Like we did some trial and error to try to figure out how to get that phone in and how to get it in on the right speed and timing. And our Werner Hyland and his team ended up putting a little motor on that phone.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, it was a whole little arm thingy. It was like a little robot that scoodled it.
Okay.
Wow.
Scoodled is official.
Yeah, it's called the Scoodler.
Yes.
A Scoodler.
That's what Werner told me.
I would have thought someone was just standing outside that door sliding it every time.
That's what I
exactly.
thought. This was an amazing
Where
location.
Are you guys here? Where is this?
We're on the property of a prison.
We were at prison.
Wow.
Yeah, it was crazy because we had to find a location near the courthouse, the new one, the one we used in the pilot, because we had to combine work on that particular day, and we saw this location. There's like a few ways to get to it, and we fell in love with all those tires just piled up everywhere, and then the way that the bushes and greens are coming through the cement created a pattern. It just looked so cinematic and like one of our mysterious meeting spots. We loved it. But when we started to do our homework, Christian and Steve Carrillo, actually one of our drivers, ascertained that it was officially on prison property, and that's a very hard approval to get, to put a whole crew on their property. And so,
so it's a working prison that's on this location?
Yes. It is, it's I don't know, it's probably a couple miles away from this, but it's all one contiguous property.
Rich Zickler, our fantastic AD, I remember so distinctly him saying, "Do not trample the shrubbery. The director likes the shrubbery." Oh my God, don't trample it.
Sounds just like him. Just like him.
Great.
Protecting Melissa's vision.
I think Steve Carrillo's dad worked in the prison system. I think he placed a call on our behalf.
That's a cool shot.
Oh,
yeah. Making the dream work.
It was very hot, and I have incredible pictures, stills of Melissa wearing white and carrying a striped umbrella. You look like a goddess.
I love all of Alison's corporate gobbledygook in this scene.
The corporate names are so good in this. And this woman that's doing the speach right now, Graham and I always watch the show twice.
Alison's fabulous.
So she's crushing it. But
totally.
we watch shows, and then the second time I was like, do you know how hard it is to sound normal and like a real corporate person doing that speech?
It was a tremendous amount of dialogue to be able to navigate in perfect corporate speak. Yeah,
nailed it.
It is.
She did. She's wonderful.
Just slightly corporate-y and just slightly actually excited about what she's saying, which cracked me up.
Yes, exactly.
And it was very exciting to have Norbert back. It had been a while.
Peter Schuller. We haven't seen it.
Peter.
I don't think we've seen him since he killed himself in a very red bathroom on Breaking Bad.
I believe it's the first time, yeah.
And he's so, you can see how much he loves Gus. I love it. Like he's so
Yes.
love that.
How could you not love Gus?
I love him. He's just such a wonderful actor. And these shots are amazing, Melissa. The one just previously that was just completely in shadow, and then all the way down, the long rectangular shot was just fabulous.
Giancarlo, I love the pride you bring to all this. How
Yes.
proud you are of all this. It just the show. I don't know. Sometimes I watch the show and I think that maybe Gus would really rather jettison everything else that he does and just be that guy all the time.
Yes, I enjoy being that guy. I think Gus does too. It's a triumph that he came up with this.
It was so fun seeing your choices here, Giancarlo. Like being in, after our very talented bellhop, Victor Armejo leaves, to be in this private space with him was really special and instructive, and just to be able to think about what he's thinking in his unguarded moments when he isn't when he isn't public facing, with Los Polios or Madrigal, and when he's not, making these like moves with the cartel. Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
What were you thinking?
This actor was just so wonderful to work with. And I'm trying to give the impression, while I'm off work, I have something to do, but we don't know what that is yet. And maybe Gus is just going to relax. It's a very completely different energy and a different side of Gus that you see here. And I was so grateful to you, Melissa, for just helping me to relax. The suggestion of taking the shoes off, really, all of those little tiny misdirects where you don't know where we're going, but we're seeing inside of Gus's world when no one else is there with him. It was wonderful to be able to do. And I love this closet too. You guys rigged this whole closet, which wasn't a closet, and put the bar up and everything. And I thought, wow, we have such great artisans who work with us and can do things very quickly and efficiently.
Yeah, a lot of problem solving going on.
That was great, truly. And of course, Gus has to be on time. Check that watch.
He has that wonderful watch.
Giancarlo, I just love watching you just hold your space as the character. You just hold your space.
Me too. I felt like I could have watched that all day. Just like, what's
This
he going to do
exchange
next?
between the two of you too is just like, oh, look at that. So beautiful.
I love Laura. I love when I get to run into her on
Laura
the
Fraser's
trailers and
amazing.
stuff. She's so great.
Hello, my friend.
And didn't she fly all the way in from Scotland to
She sure
do the
did.
scene?
Yeah, she also
sure
has
did.
a beautiful accent in real life.
Yes, she does.
Yeah, she's Scottish.
You look well.
We always want to do a scene where she picks up a phone and impersonates a Scots person and uses her real accent.
Hope you can make that happen.
I hope so.
The transformation of this space was pretty remarkable.
Oh yeah,
Where
what was it?
Where is it? Where are we really?
We are at at one of the casinos, one of the resort hotels that we hadn't been able to shoot at. This is the Sandia Resort and Casino, and we hadn't been able to shoot on Native American property for like sort of complicated logistical reasons for some time, and we were able to work it out for this episode, and it was wonderful. It gave us a lot of space to work. And this section of the hotel was under construction too, so there wasn't anybody in our hallways, which was really nice. And Paula Del Santo and our art crew, and actually the art in here that Janine Fletcher found. And got approved. You see, there's one artist who's providing the art all throughout the suite. It was an incredible effort on that department's behalf.
Beautiful and comfortable and classy.
Mm-hmm.
They will catch me, and then
And Melissa, am I wrong? Was this your first day of directing?
It was.
It
Well,
was.
we started at the magical conference room, and then we moved here.
Oh my God.
And then we started the next day here too. But that's actually because Norbert had to leave the country. So we only had like a day and a half of a window with him.
Wow.
So Giancarlo, you were really the Bernstein, you got to break her in a little bit.
Yeah, and Melissa was just so prepared and so ready. So I don't know if any of us really broke her in. I know that there's always some nervousness surrounding being a first-time director, but the conversations that we had this day, I won't forget, because it allowed me to be in a different space completely. And Melissa just said, go for it. And because I wanted to be able to be strong, but also vulnerable, and also, being like the father, talking the kid off the ledge and allowing him to know that everything's all right. So those are things that I had never played before, and so grateful to Alison for having written these scenes, giving confidence. Because when you think about the dialogue and what Schuler says, first it was 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, and he's still able to talk this guy into giving him more time and convince him that we're family and we're partners. So a very interesting dynamic was played in this scene. I just really loved it.
Well, you're going to love it.
How'd you come to that blocking, Giancarlo, to go and sit across from him on the table?
Well, I felt it, and certainly Melissa encouraged it. It was because of where his emotional state was at. I knew I needed to touch him. I needed to touch him and make contact and allow him to literally feel my energy, and that everything was going to be all right.
Yeah, it was so powerful seeing you two physically.
Yeah. I loved it. It was very like, you see this side of Gus that is also a great manager of other people's emotions. Like, he literally gets in front of him to say, like, stop spinning, look at me.
But absolutely. But that last shot over the champagne, I thought was really brilliant, Melissa, because it allowed us to see Gus out of focus, but you could feel his worry. You could feel, is it going to be all right? So it left us in a place where he's, really allaying all these fears of Schuler. And then you see him really inside trying to figure out, what am I going to do now? So a different position for Gus.
Yeah.
But that you were able to play all of that in one scene is really incredible.
Oh, thank you.
This is such a great.
This might be the smoochiest. It's the smoochiest episode we've ever done.
It's a very smoochy.
There's a lot of smooches.
They're happy. And in a weird way, that's some of the hardest stuff to write, is when characters are happy and they're enjoying themselves. I don't know if it's hard to play. It's certainly tricky to write.
It can be because you're always so worried that you're not doing enough or not making the scene complex enough, and you just have to rest on the fact that our show is not sentimental, and these characters can afford like some fabric between their horrific experiences. They actually give you something to lose. Then, like, if this was a terrible couple, then who would give a shit if anything happened to them?
Right.
So enjoy the show.
And I'm always happy to see these two together, I have to say.
Especially if Bob has no pants.
Right.
Who doesn't want to see Mike? Who doesn't want to see Mike with no pants on?
And garters. Yeah.
The sock garters, very sexy.
Very sexy.
My grandfather wore sock garters. I think that might be, I don't know if that's where we got it from.
I think so. It is definitely.
Melissa, did you have to coax the fish, Carl, to go in the correct corner of the tank? Every time I have a scene with that fish, I have to act around where the fish wants to go.
Yeah, you should. Yeah, I can't even tell you what I had to give up to get him to
Fish was tough.
You know what Solomon could do.
I do love that he's like Saul Goodman on the top half of that shirt.
I love Bob's vulnerability in this whole episode. The little cracks, and there's one here where he says, "You do know what this guy did." Just like his conscience creeping up. You did a great job writing those moments in, and Bob does a really great job playing them.
He does. The weight of the murder of this guy really lands on him. You can feel it.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting because that murder at the end of the previous season, we had no intention of making it such a big deal. and we had no idea of how important it was going to be. Okay, here we go. Here's a scene for Melissa to talk about for sure.
Here's a scene everybody wants to get on their first time directing.
Well, it was so much fun to be able to play actually these two in this space together, operating on completely different speeds and but both reflecting their characters and their inner turmoil so properly. I actually really enjoyed that counterpoint. And I love the music too. Thomas Goljevich and Yvette and the Super Music Vision team came up with actually a number of great ideas, but it was kind of that. Oh,
Yeah,
Giancarlo.
that's quite something when you turn it like that.
Yes.
I think that's that's the thing people most remark on to me is that touch.
Is the turning of the chicken?
Yeah. Yes,
That'd be a good title. We should have called it that.
Yes.
Turning chicken.
The turning of the chicken.
I love it when you check the fryer in a second for cleanliness.
Yes. Yes. Well, it's part of that precision.
Luckily, no one will get fired for having a dirty fryer.
Yeah.
We should also, Melissa, wasn't this an empty restaurant when we walked into it? When you walked into it?
Yeah. No, it looked nothing like this. There was nothing there. It was very decrepit and dirty, and because it was essentially sort of abandoned, and they were planning to demolish it. And that was Christian, our location manager and resident genius, was like, okay, I found a place you can blow up. And I was like, what? We're actually going to blow it up? He's like, yeah, you could just blow it up. Isn't that what you wanted? Wow. I was like, of course. I didn't even think that was possible, honestly, at the time.
So how many resets did you get any resets on the destruction inside or the explosion?
The destruction inside, we were doing that in it was an hour and a half we had left to shoot that. So we just set up little areas for Michael to shoot those pieces. And he got 2 or 3 goes at all of them.
This was a one-off though.
And this one was a one-off. Yeah. That's a one-off.
Wow.
Look at that.
But what makes it is how it keeps going.
Yes. Beautiful in the window. Just gorgeously framed.
Very last thing we shot. So exciting.
It was. The neighborhood was hooting and hollering. That was pretty awesome. But Giancarlo, just the fact that you didn't no flinching, you didn't look back. To have nailed that in one take.
I knew that was all we had, and I never want to disappoint. And certainly the conflagration behind me, I could feel it. And you were so intent on having me be safe, and I felt good about it. And all I said to myself was, Gus would never look back. Just keep going. Don't flinch.
It's incredible.
Yeah, you don't want that to be the one take where you're like,
oops.
I feel in your career, Giancarlo, you must have walked away from a few explosions. This was probably not the first one.
But this is the pièce de résistance explosion.
Nice.
Completely.
Good. Love hearing
that. Yes.
And do you want to talk about a complex sequence to direct? Here you go.
I think this was the one I was a kind of just from there just are a lot of ins and outs and and a lot going on. And really Jimmy's bottoming out in terms of his moral compass. So it's a really substantial scene in the arc of his character, at least in my view. So that paired with all of the, making sure all the pieces are fitting together.
Yeah, I feel this was probably presented to you no pressure, but this is a turning point, not just for the episode or the season, but for the series. This is a turning point for the series. Go.
Mm-hmm.
I think Melissa would know that. You don't think you need any of us to tell you these things, and it's. I had no doubts at all that you were going to crush this episode the way you did. I don't think I knew how great you were going to do, but I knew you were going to do great. And this, I'm just so proud also of just the storytelling here that Saul Goodman, the guy who on Breaking Bad, we sort of felt like he was a ruthless, careless adjunct to murder. And here we see that this guy does have a soul. At least at this point, he had a soul. And I think the way Bob plays this, and the places that he pauses that tell you what he's really thinking, it's really a remarkable piece of work.
Does the prosecution have a response?
And we have this little, Wayland family in the back there that, has just come together in this episode. And, and you have to feel something for them. That little group did a really nice job coming together.
Yeah, they did.
With no dialogue.
Yeah, that the woman playing the mom was really dug deep, for real.
Yeah.
Witness is one small element of the state's case. In light of the extraordinary violence of the crime and the fact that
I love it when the picture's doing one thing and the sound's doing something else.
the court recognized him as a flight risk and as a danger to the...
And Saida here the ADA is just terrific. She's wonderful.
Really
All
wonderful.
due respect, Your Honor, but the witness is not just one small element of the state's case. She's the only witness.
Formidable. And knowing that, something is awry over on the other side of this, but really doing her best.
She can smell the horse shit. Absolutely.
Yes.
I'd like you to meet his family. That's his fiance, and
This is a very complex scene because you're in Jimmy's head, but you're also in Lalo's head, and you need these reactions. It's just very elegantly executed, and it feels effortless, which is probably the best compliment I could give you.
And well, Bob is the worst. He's like, when he's not on camera, he was like doing these like ridiculous, like silly sort of goings on about the family. And the family like kept it together. I mean, like they didn't laugh or react. Like they did such a good job at not being baited by Bob and his silly.
I think the kids were young enough that they were mostly confused.
What's going
That
on?
did happen.
A reaction that Bob loves to elicit out of an audience.
Yes.
God.
The juxtaposition of him having a soul still and this man who's absolutely soulless about killing people was really great.
And it's so true what Peter said about all the different pieces and the different moments all landing.
I accept the defense's argument that bond is warranted. But
And I loved our courtroom clerk, Sandy Shelby. It's great.
Cash only.
It's on camera so much, and had to play the routine nature of courtroom activities, and she did a nice job.
I love Bob's insincere Your Honor.
Yes, I do
He's
too.
he's pretending to be outraged, but this is actually the best news he's had all day.
Yeah, it's a relief. Yeah, exactly. So relieved.
And Lalo's charm just reaches out through. I'll call you.
And we could have, what a great shot. We could have ended the episode right there in that scene. We talked about it a lot. And I don't know, I think we all felt that this was an important beat. Alison, why do you think we want to keep going and see this scene with Howard?
I think we really felt like we needed to see how it bubbles up from Jimmy, what he's doing.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think if we had just left him kind of gobsmacked in the courtroom, it would feel like he was kind of deflated.
Mm-hmm.
And this scene reinflates him without a doubt.
Big time.
You know what?
But it also gives us the opportunity to see how much he cares because he's spying to see how this family is going to take all this information. So in a way, he still has destroyed that he's taking this big, huge step to the dark side.
Yeah. And it felt like Howard would be the perfect person to poke at that.
Mm-hmm.
But you can also, in Patrick's performance, you can also see Howard trying to be his best self. And I love that.
Yeah. He doesn't even mean to be poking.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He's trying to dig deep.
You listening to yourself? I don't know.
And so many of Jimmy's tricks here don't work. You know, he raises Chuck again, which we were a little bit worried about, but he uses his kryptonite bullet and it just bounces off of Hamlin. And I just thought that was fascinating. The way you guys play it is so great.
You kill my brother and you say you're sorry.
See, he thinks that's his trump card.
Say something. The job offer, it didn't upset me. It amused me.
Bob brought so much energy and pain and vulnerability to this scene.
Little old me.
Really so fun to watch.
Mm-hmm.
You're a teensy tiny man in a teensy weensy little bubble. Don't you fucking owe Jimmy me.
That's an unplanned fucking, I believe.
Yeah, unplanned fucking.
And we had a take without it. I think we used it anyway.
I'm a producer. Of course you're going to have a backup take with no curse word.
I love this monologue, Alison.
Yes, me too.
Yeah. Oh boy.
Far beyond you! I'm like a god in human clothing! Lightning bolts shoot from my fingertips!
Woo.
This takes him over the mountain. This changes his whole personality and identity for himself and for us.
And it's pathetic.
It is.
Since we did this, someone compared this to Walter White's I'm the one who knocks speech. And what people forget about that is that Walt, he's kind of screwed at that point and things aren't going well for him. And he's certainly Gus has him cornered. And yet he rouses himself and is a little man with big talk. And I think maybe there's a similarity there for sure.
I would agree. It's lovely.
Melissa, did you shoot other options besides him going back to being out of focus with everybody else?
No, that was really what we had planned as the end shot.
I like